Now we're going to be looking at how to render a 2D image. So first thing is we need to actually generate a 2D image. So in order to generate a 2D image, what we need to do is place a camera. So we have two ways of placing the camera. We can go to our View tab. In the Create panel, we have our default 3D view. Arrow underneath, we have the camera. So again, we can do the same thing in the Quick Access toolbar. There's an arrow beside the default 3D view. And we'll select the camera. So when we have the camera selected, you can see it's attached to my cursor. Here we have our options bar, where first thing is the perspective. So when we're creating a 2D view, we want it to be realistic and have perspective. So yes, we want that to be turned on. If we turned it off, the view that we'll get will be the same as if we were to use our default 3D view. When it's turned off, you're able to specify a scale. That's why we can't select it at the moment. Next is the offset and where it's offset from. So it's currently, when I place my camera, it'll be 1750 from the ground level, which is kind of an average eye height. So that's why they've set it to 1750. So to place the camera, I'm going to place it in this section here. I zoom in. With first click of the camera, we'll place the position of the camera. So click once. Now when I move my cursor away from the camera, it displays my field of view. The further I move my cursor, the further will be my field of view. Then to place it, I'll click again and it will bring me into my 2D view. So there we have generated our first 2D image. So we have a rectangular box around the image. That's just a crop view. So if we wanted to change or resize our crop, we'll just have to select it to highlight it, and there's our grip, so we can just pull and drag it up. So after we've resized our crop, if we're not happy with the position of our camera, what we can do is we can open up our ground floor plan. Again, I'm going to type in WT so I can see both views. My camera is here, but it's currently not displayed. So what I need to do is go into my project browser, and all of my camera views will be organized under the 3D view heading. And there we'll see highlighted, because it's currently open, 3D view 2. There's my 3D view 2. So in the project browser, if you expand 3D views, we'll find our view. So in order to see the camera, we have to right click on view 2. Fourth down from the top is show camera. So the camera has now been displayed. So if I wanted to rotate the position of my camera, coming out of the center is a shorter line, and at the end is a pink circle. So what I can do is click and drag that. I can rotate my camera position. As well, at the end of the view, there's an open circle. If I click and drag that, I can reduce my field of view. If I wanted to increase the height or decrease the height, I'll go to my properties palette, scroll down to the camera heading, and there's my eye elevation. So if I decrease that to 1200, my eye elevation reduces. I can bring it down to say 1000. So the camera is now 1000 up from the ground floor level. As well, below that is the target elevation. So there is my target, and that currently is set to 1750. So my camera is at 1 meter and my target is at 1750. So right now I'm kind of looking up at an angle. So if I increase that to say 2500, see the camera will rotate upwards. So my target is now looking up. So now I'll go back, double click on the header, go back into my view. I'm just going to change my crop slightly. So now we have set up our 2D image. The next step for us to do is we got to prepare our image for render. So what we're going to do is go to our detail level, increase it to fine, then go to the visual style and put it to realistic. So next we're going to turn on our shadows. If you're not happy with how the shadows are displayed, we'll go over to the sun settings. And what we can do to adjust the position of the sun is quite simply just changing the time. So if I bring that back to say 10 o'clock in the morning, press apply, and say 9. Okay, so 8 o'clock in the morning looks pretty good. So I'll press OK. So now that I'm happy with my shadows and everything, the next step is to render. So in order to render this image, we'll come here into the View tab in the Presentation panel. We have 3 different tools here. We have the Render, Render in Cloud, and Render Gallery. So the render is what we will be doing in a few moments. Below that is the Render in Cloud. So when you sign up to Autodesk, you're given 99 credits, which you can use in the cloud in order to render images. If you have created a 2D image which you want to render, but the file is too large and your PC can't handle it, you can send it straight to Autodesk via the cloud. They'll render it for you. It will cost you X amount of credits, and then they'll email it back to you. Below that is the render gallery, so all of your renders will be stored within this gallery. So if we want to go ahead now and we'll select the render. So here in the render box, the first option there is the actual render itself. When we've changed all of our rendering settings, we'll finally go to press render. Before we do that though, I want to go through all of the settings. So first one there is the region. If I know that the render might take quite a long time, I'm able to do a small section of the image to make sure that what I've done is correct. So when I turn on region, I get the little region box that I can reduce down in size. When I'm happy with my region, I can then select render, and it will render that small section. Below that is the quality of the render. So we'll change that via the settings. So within the render quality settings, we have a few options to choose from: draft, medium, high, best, custom, and we can edit as well. So the quality setting options on the render dialog allows you to specify the desired quality for the render image. So when you want to present a design to the clients, you typically want a high quality rendered image. However, high quality rendered images can be slow to generate. So for testing purposes, you may want to just generate a draft quality image quickly. So I'm going to open up the edit box. And if we choose the custom in here, now we are able to customize our render quality. So first option is the light and material accuracy. First option is a simplified version, so it's an approximate material and shadow display. And the advanced is the precise material and shadows. Below that, we have the duration of the render. So it's our render levels. So our render level 1 will be the draft. Render level 5 is the medium. 10 is best, and so on. It goes up and up. So we can go up as far as 40. Now, if it takes 4 or 5 minutes to do a draft version, which will be level 1. So if you're trying to render something at level 40, it's going to take you a couple of hours. If you only had a specific amount of time for you to render, for example, if you're leaving the office at 6 o'clock, you want to show the client your drawings at 10 o'clock, so you can render by time, so you can specify the amount of minutes that you want it to render. You can, of course, let the software decide and choose the until satisfactory. So for this exercise, I'm going to stick with draft. Next is the output setting. So how is the resolution going to appear? Will it be on a screen, or are you going to print it? Below that, we have our lighting section. In the schemes here, we have 3 options of exterior and 3 options of interior. So the exterior, we have the sun only. We have the sun as well as the artificial lights, so our lights that we've displayed. Or we can have only the artificial lights. And same again for the interior, so sun only, sun artificial, and artificial only. If we were to choose the artificial lights in here, we're able to change their brightness or turn them on and off. If you're unhappy with the sun's position, here in the sun settings, if we select the box with the 3 dots here, it will bring us back into the sun settings. Below that is the background section. Here we're able to choose if we have clouds or no clouds. We can specify a color in the background. We can also specify an image. Once we've created our render image, the next section here, we're able to adjust the exposure. So we'll look into that in more detail when we do create an image. Then here we're able to save the image to the project. So it will be saved here in the project browser, or we can export it to our common drive. Okay, so for this exercise, I'm going to change my quality setting to draft. Resolution is on screen. My lighting will be exterior sun and artificial. The background, I want it to be very cloudy. And we'll select render. So there on level 1, that took 16 seconds on my PC. If you've got a high performing PC, it will do it in a matter of seconds. Just a small tip, before you do render, it's probably best to save just in case the computer does crash. So now that we have our rendered image, we now have the option of adjusting the exposure of our image. So we can select adjust exposure. So in here we can make it darker or brighter. We can change the highlights, how dark or light the shadows are, saturation and white point. If we've changed a lot of the settings and we're not happy with them, we can of course reset it back to the original. And if you're not happy with the settings you've made, we'll just select reset to bring it back. And then we'll just press OK. And lastly, we're going to save it to project. And I'm going to call mine render view 2. So to save it to save to project as view 2, press OK. And you'll see now there's a renderings heading in the project browser with my view 2. We can also export it onto the common drive and save it in your folders. We can also go between the actual model image and our rendered image down here at the bottom where we have show model and show render.